Hey guys, yeah, I'm gonna do this by hand, as you can probably tell a little bit there in the mirror. The reason being is because my tripod here decided to finally fall apart on top, and it's a lot harder to put together or back together than it seems. So I'm probably have to get a new one down the line. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and show and possibly, best I can, open the SEGA Genesis Mini. Yes, this came out. It's been about a month, I think, since this came out, and this actually came out about about a few days to almost a week at my job. It was finally sold. What I'm saying is that it was about a week or so, maybe a few days after it came out. About a week or so when my job finally decided to sell it. So, and there were plenty of copies. I mean, I kept checking every day I'd come into work, every time I go on break, at lunch, off work, there'd still be plenty there. So I decided when I got my next paycheck, which was this one, that I would get it, and that's what I did. So yeah, this is the SEGA Genesis Mini. I'm surprised they weren't selling as much at my job, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people are getting them online, either from Amazon or SEGA, either from Amazon.com or SEGA online directly. I mean, they are selling, don't get me wrong. This one lady yesterday came in to pay, do a layaway payment, and she was thinking either, okay, do I pay the whole thing now or can I pay partially? Because the thing is, she had to go pick up her daughter, and she didn't want her daughter to see anything that she was getting for her birthday. So she decided, okay, I'll just pay this amount and then come back and get the other one, because she wasn't sure whether or not she had to pay for it and then come pick it up. She wasn't too sure if she had to pay if she paid for it all, if she paid the whole payment there, if she had to go and pick it up right then and there, because like I said, she had to go get her daughter. So I had to think about it for a second. I said, and I was kind of back and forth because I hadn't done layaway for about a year, but I was pretty certain that. But one of the things I did remember, and I was pretty certain about it, was you didn't have to pay. Right? You didn't have to. No, what I'm saying is, and it's early. It's about 9:08 right now, p.m. Pacific. I mean 9:08, I should say, a.m. Pacific time. But like I said, she wasn't too I wasn't too sure because I hadn't done layaway in about a year. But the one thing I did kind of constantly remember is that there was a possibility that if they paid it all right then and there, they had to pick it up right then and there. Couldn't be held. So she decided anyway to just pay, like I said, just pay enough to where she has a little over $50 left to pay on it, if she didn't pay on it already, and then pick it up. So one of the things she ended up laying away was this. So yeah, she ended up laying away her own copy of the Genesis. So yeah, it is selling, but it's not selling as much because I think it's mostly a novelty item, and not a lot of today's kids are like, oh, SEGA Genesis, cool. I mean, it takes their parents, adult aunts, uncles to kind of make them realize, hey, this is something that helped revolutionize the gaming business. Now, in case you guys are wondering, this is not my first Genesis console. No, that distinction actually goes to the Dreamcast, right then and there. Yeah, the Dreamcast. That distinction goes to that. It goes to the Dreamcast. So this is not my first Genesis, though. So it's my second Genesis, but it is. I will put it like this. I will emphasize that it is the first version that I've had of the original Genesis, as they call it, the Model 1, if you will, but in mini form. I mean, I was fortunate enough to have a top loader, which a lot of people say is hard to get, of the NES. Fortunate enough to play the original NES because my sister had that, as well as I'm fortunate enough to have a Super Nintendo, which was given to me by my family during one of my visits back around the mid-90s. And now, as well as I'm also very fortunate to have the mini versions of the Super Nintendo and the NES and the NES. So adding this to the collection is going to be something. And also I have the TurboGrafx 16, which I got for Christmas one day, and I don't know what happened to my original one, so I ended up buying a new one, or getting a new one, about last year or so. And I do plan to get the mini version of that. So anyway, without further ado, let's see what's in this thing, in the box here. And as you could tell, and I'm pretty sure people have already talked about it, it's designed to look like an original Genesis box, except I'm pretty sure the original Genesis box was a lot bigger. And just so that you guys know, I have played the original Genesis, but I've only played it when I would go over to my cousin's house, because they would have both Nintendo and Genesis, and they would be mostly playing this, is what they would be playing. So anyway, so we're gonna open the Genesis here. I'm surprised it's not taped up much or anything, but I guess that's to give it its replication. I hope this wasn't a return, because one of the things people do is they return stuff, and it does get put back on the shelf, and then sometimes they return it and it doesn't work. But I don't think that's the case here, because despite what people may say, my job does make sure things are working before we take them back, make sure all the pieces and parts are there. So anyway, let's open this up. Okay. Like I said, I'm doing this one hand. Be very careful. Kind of an aerial view right now. Okay, so the first thing we have here is the AC adapter with a USB plug-in on top. So we have that. Okay. Alright, so next thing is we have the USB cable. Okay. And then we have the HDMI cable, which is pretty long. You have an instruction manual. And then here, these are the only things that are taped. I have to move this for a second. Get it out best I can. There we go. Here we have the Genesis controller. Now some people have said that the D-pad is a little stiff. Doesn't feel like that to me. But I like the fact that it's a replication of the original Genesis controller. Now I do watch Angry Video Game Nerd or Cinemassacre, and they have said that there is, and I think Pat Conter, Pat the NES Punk, and a few others have said that there is, and so I have my fingers in front of the mic, but they have said that there is 6-button controllers by 8-bit Duo that allow you to have a full Genesis experience with them. And then of course here's the second controller, and that's one thing I will give them, both Nintendo and Genesis and Sega, is because with the NES Classic you only got one controller, I think, so you had to buy another one, as well as an extension if you wanted to play at a certain length. Nintendo made it up by putting the SNES Classic with 2, so I'm glad that Sega said, you know what, we're going to remedy that right off the bat with our Classic controller. And then of course the coup de grace is right here. And if I can open this up a little bit, oh, there it is. This is the coup de grace. Now, like I said, Cinemassacre, Pat the Corsair, Review Tech USA, they've all said that, you know, 8-Bit Duo has the 6-button controllers for these that are wireless, and I think even wired, so I may look into that in the future. But anyway, here it comes. Here it is. Like I said, I'm doing this one-handed because my tripod finally decided to, you know, break on me. And there it is. It's got a little plastic on top to kind of protect it, I guess, but why would you need the plastic on top? No. Except for maybe dust or something, I don't know. I'm going to take that off right now. Yeah, but there it is. It's pretty cool, huh? Now, as people pointed out, one of the neat features is the door does open, but you can't put no Genesis cartridges in there because it's small. I mean, I'm sure people are thinking, oh, it would be neat if they did mini Genesis, little mini Genesis cartridges just for novelty. Like, oh, they don't have to work, just put them in there for novelty. So we have the reset button, which works. We have on and off, which works, and we have volume, which I think is just there for novelty, I think, because there's no headphone jack on there. No headphone jack whatsoever. That's pretty cool. Now on the front here you have the USB ports for the controllers, and on the back you have the HDMI cable port as well as the AC adapter port. On the back, got there, and then on the front it looks like basically a replica Genesis. It looks like the original. It's basically the original Genesis, I should say, when it first came out. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to finally actually to have this. Again, you know, I wish, you know, I would have had original Genesis, but you know, you have to be different a little bit, because I do recall that my family, we had the Atari 2600, and that was the go-to system as far as video games were, video game consoles, and my other relatives had like the Coleco and stuff like that, I think. So we were kind of ahead of the curve, and I think it was around the time that my sister, I think it was, she turned 9 or 10, I think, is when we got the Nintendo in the house. So, but yeah, there you go, the SEGA Genesis Mini, all in its glory. So I'll probably put it together later so I can capture some footage, show you what it looks like, and that's about it, guys. So let me know what you all think down below, comment if you like, and I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care.